When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I am your host, JoAnn Crone. Hello to all my Lolas out there. We are covering a topic that I am super passionate about. It is all about parenting kids with ADHD when you have ADHD as a parent yourself. So this is going to be phenomenal because I'm sure you've heard the same advice I have, where typical parenting advice says, like, you should create a consistent routine for your kids. You should avoid all the artificial dyes and flavors for their kids. You should make sure their sleep schedule is consistent. But ADHD brains generally do better with structure and the right fuel and enough rest. But here's the thing that I think a lot of the advice leaves out. It's that you are not neurotypical yourself. You're having the same issues. You can't stay on a sleep schedule because your brain rebels against it. You don't have the executive function power at the end of the day to make sure all of your meals have enough nutrients for you, nonetheless, your children. And this is something that nobody really talks about. All of this advice about parenting ADHD kids is given to people with an assuming neurotypical brain. Now, if you've never heard that term before, there is neurotypical and there is neurodiverse. Neurodiverse usually pertains to the brains like ours, ADHD, those on the autism spectrum, those who have sensory processing, anything that is different than the norm. If you have ever felt like you are different from everybody else around you, you respond differently, you might be neurodiverse. And that's exactly what we're going to get into in today's podcast episode. I want to make sure you hear loud and clear, you are not failing. You are not lazy. You have just been given advice that doesn't work with your brain. And today we're going to solve that. I'm going to show you some methods, some techniques, and give you a little bit of the brain science behind all of them. So you walk away from this episode understanding them and knowing exactly what to do and put into your parenting life. And therefore have a better relationship with your child, because that's what it's all about. And if you know you're somebody who has problems with all the structure, the responsibilities, I want you to go on over and grab my free guide about how my clients actually got their kids to listen better and cooperate without the structure, without the routines, because I have a very neurodiverse community. You can go get that at learn.noguiltmom.com/get-kids-to-listen. I'll put that link in the show notes as well. So now let's get on with the show. Okay, let's really tackle this problem of the parenting advice that you might be getting for your kids who are neurodiverse, who have ADHD, perhaps on the autism spectrum as well, okay? This, first of all, number one, be on a consistent routine. I think that being on the routine is the number one parenting question I get asked. Like, we're not on a routine. How can we establish a routine for getting out the door on time? How can we establish a routine for nighttime bedtime? That, like, getting ready for bed routine is such a hard issue for so many families. And if you follow this neurotypical advice, you probably find yourself wanting to slam your head against a wall because it just doesn't work. Like, you get angry, your kids get angry, everybody's angry at each other, and it's just not the bedtime that you imagined. Like, if you have ever built a beautiful color coordinated chart and then 2 days later you completely abandon it, like, this is the ADHD brain meeting a task and then getting bored with it. Because something that really, really motivates ADHD brains is novelty. And that's a hard thing to also balance with having a structured routine. Do you see where the disconnect is there? If ADHD brains like things to be new and exciting, how much are they going to fight against a routine? A lot, right? Now, there's like a little hack to this. I'm going to give you more of these hacks later on during the episode, but I don't want you to think like everything's hopeless and that you have to live in chaos the rest of your life because you have ADHD. I view my ADHD like a superpower. I am super creative. I am able to find connections between things that other people are not able to, just of how my brain is wired. In fact, there was a guest that was on the No Guilt Mom podcast a few years ago, and they described that ADHD brains were basically the hunters in like early civilizations because they're the ones who can like pick those differences out of the environment and like not get attacked during the hunt. It was a safety mechanism. So your brain, your kid's brain is actually wired for really, really useful stuff. But it doesn't follow the same advice that is typically given in terms of parenting advice. So that's the first one, how creating a consistent routine, it may not be working for you and the reason why. The next advice I hear a lot is avoiding all the artificial dyes and flavors. This one really, really gets to me. And while there probably is like some reasoning behind a lot of them, I mean, one of the red dyes was completely banned, not available. And a lot of stores are actually removing but removing dyes from their products. All a really, really good thing. What really bugs me in this conversation is that there may be research studies showing that something may be harmful, like a chemical that's in our food or a preservative, but the amount that is harmful is so much more than actually appears in the food we're ingesting. However, some influencers, some experts take that scientific research and they extrapolate it to this bigger whole, saying that, well, we shouldn't eat it at all. The truth is that a lot of things in larger amounts are really bad for you. I mean, look at ibuprofen. You're only supposed to take like 400 milligrams of ibuprofen at a time. You're not supposed to have more of that because it's bad for your system if you have more of that. The same goes for a lot of these claims about certain chemicals, certain preservatives, like it's bad for your system in large amounts. Yes, that's a given. However, I think that there is a panic created when we then tell parents, oh, you shouldn't let your kids have any of this. It's just not sustainable. And a lot of times, especially when we have ADHD brains, we are constantly on alert. We have a higher fear about everything. And we also tend to fixate on those things because we don't want anything bad to happen to our kids. So that is one thing with these artificial dyes and flavors that you're told about limiting with ADHD kids. The other thing is that it is really, really hard when your executive function is, I don't want to say lacking, but it's a little hard to access when you have ADHD. And then you're told that on top of all of your other responsibilities, you also need to manage this other small part for one member of your family. And it just becomes unsustainable thing. And I feel like it drives more shame among parents than it helps them. So that's the problem with the avoiding the artificial dyes and flavors. And then that third one, protect their sleep schedule. Guys, first of all, I'm a big fan of sleep. I love sleep. I did put my kids on a sleep schedule because I become incredibly grumpy if I don't get my sleep. And so I'm like, well, you're getting on it, or like, I'm just going to be crazy mom. All that said, guys, I didn't get my son on a sleep schedule until he was 3. It took like 3 years of just ultimate misery. I don't really remember many of those 3 years. Honestly, I was not at my peak. So much of my memory is lost at that time because I didn't get good sleep. Regardless, yes, of course, protecting your sleep schedule is a wonderful, wonderful thing. However, if you cannot sustain a good sleep schedule yourself, it is very, very hard to enforce with your kids. And this is said more out of something that I don't want this to cause you shame. I don't want this to be something that you're telling yourself you're a horrible parent because of. In fact, here's a fact that you may find interesting. Many people who are on the autism spectrum actually have sleep difficulties. They have problems noticing when they are tired and when they are sleepy. They wake up at multiple times during the night and have a really hard time getting back to sleep. There are all these sleep disturbances that are associated with autism. And so when you are a neurodiverse parent and you have those kind of things going on for you, it is really, really hard to then look at your child and be like, you need to stay in your bed and you need to stay asleep because you empathize. You know how hard sleep is. So that's another thing. Protect their sleep schedule. It is a hard thing to say to neurodiverse people. So if you're having trouble with it, you're not alone. You're not alone with it. You have so many people out there who are having trouble as well. Now, I just want to reframe this. Like, this advice isn't wrong per se. It's just written as if the person executing it has a neurotypical functioning system. And if that's not you, it doesn't mean the advice doesn't apply to your family. It just means you need a different on-ramp to get there. And that's what the rest of this episode is. Summer is almost here, and I have a whole list of things I want to do with my family. I just want to make sure our money is organized so I can say yes to the things that actually matter and not wonder where it went in September. That's the goal. Intentional spending, not anxious spending. That's where Monarch comes in. And here's what I need you to know right now. Monarch is the personal finance app that tracks everything: accounts, investments, savings goals, and spending. Get your first year of Monarch Core for half off, just $50 with promo code NOGUILT. And this is why I think it's so amazing. The AI weekly recap gives me a heads up on what's happening with my money before anything sneaks up on me. It flags spending spikes, net worth shifts, upcoming expenses. It's like a calm little check-in every week so nothing catches me off guard. And you can ask Monarch's AI assistant anything about your finances, anything. I literally asked it how much we spent on travel last summer, and it just told me. That kind of clarity is everything when you're planning ahead. Use code NOGUILT at monarch.com to get your first year of Monarch Core half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code NOGUILT. You know, when you're just balancing all the things and somewhere in the chaos, you're still trying to figure out if your kids are actually getting their nutritional needs met? Yes, that was me. And honestly, that's how I found First Day, and it just simplified everything. Here's what got me. They actually make different formulas for toddlers, kids, teens, and adults. So it's tailored to your stage of life. My 13-year-old son isn't getting the same thing I am at 44 because what he needs and what I need are genuinely not the same. Finally, a brand that gets that. We're talking a blend of 21 organic superfoods and 9 key vitamins. No artificial dyes, no added sugars, nothing unnecessary. They test for over 200 toxins and have the Clean Label Purity Award. So I'm not second guessing what I'm putting in my family's bodies. It's just 2 gummies a day, which honestly makes it so easy to stay consistent. Over 1 million families use First Day, and they have a 45-day money-back guarantee. It just takes the guesswork out of it completely. For a limited time only, our listeners are getting an insane deal. Use code NGM to get up to 57% off at firstday.com. That's up to 57% off and a free gift with code NGM at firstday.com. After you purchase, they will ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. If you're a parent, it is so easy to get overwhelmed, and you know how your own mental health always comes last. I felt that hard when my daughter was deep into competitive dance. 3-hour rehearsals multiple times a week, and in between, I was taking care of my son. I felt like a taxi driver running on fumes, and still trying to be present for everyone was a total no-go. Those are the moments where I really need someone to talk to, and honestly, those are the moments I usually let slip the most. I go to therapy, and it has genuinely changed how I show up. It's helped me understand why I react the way I do, step outside myself in moments of stress, and let go of so much shame I didn't even realize I was carrying. What I love about Rula is that they make it so much easier to actually get that support. There are healthcare company that partners with over 120 insurance plans, so therapy doesn't feel like this huge financial stretch. The average copay is just $15 a session, and they match you with a therapist based on what you actually need, not just whoever has an opening, with appointments often available as soon as tomorrow. Thousands of parents are already using Rula to get affordable, high-quality therapy that's actually covered by insurance, helping them show up for their families. And so can you. Visit rula.com/NGM to get started. That's RULA.com/NGM. Okay, so let's talk about some things that are actually happening within your brain, and it'll also help you understand your kid's brain a little bit better as well. Or maybe you have a loved one in your life who has ADHD. This will help you have more compassion and empathy towards them. First, let's talk about RSD. RSD stands for Rejection Sensitivity Dysphoria. Now, this is something that is present in many ADHD individuals. It's not listed in like the DSM-4 as like a diagnostic criteria. It's more of a description of what is happening and what has been seen to happen. What it is this intense, often disproportionate emotional response to perceived criticism, failure, or rejection. This is something where you think that somebody looks at you the wrong way, and it means they absolutely hate you. But it goes even farther than that. There are physical signs in your body that react, that show like you are in danger. I do have rejection sensitive dysphoria where I will have a trigger. And for instance, let me think of a trigger. A trigger can be something like getting an email from somebody. Say that I applied to speak somewhere, and all of a sudden, pop, an email comes in my inbox from that person. I associate that with rejection. And before I can even have a thought, my heart rate goes up. I feel weak, like in my body. I feel lightheaded. Like my body has this fight or flight response. And then from that fight or flight response, I have the thought, oh my gosh, they hate me. There's the email telling me I am worth nothing. How dare you even think of applying for this, that you would be like qualified? I mean, these are all the things that go through my head because the reaction is so, so painful. And I think that that is something to understand when you have ADHD, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's no big deal. Just like brush it off. Don't let it bother you. But they don't realize how intense those feelings are in the body. Now, how it shows up for you as a parent, for example, maybe your kids roll their eyes when you share a new chore chart and it just lands like this gut punch failure. Like, oh my gosh, I am the worst parent. How could I not make this work? Like, it's not you in that instance. It is RSD. And knowing that, I hope that knowing that gives you a little more compassion for yourself. Because if you have that big of a reaction, it's nothing that you're thinking that's wrong. It's nothing that you're doing that's wrong. It's just how your brain perceives a perceived threat or a perceived rejection. It's not a character flaw either. It's just RSD doing what RSD does. And so if you have these feelings and these emotions, the best thing to do is just label it. Label it, be like, okay, this is RSD. This is not real. And what I like to do is try to delay. I'll give you guys a story of what happened. I was very, very tired of being asked what's for dinner. I feel like I'm asked that all the time as a parent. And so my son came to me and he's like, what's for? And I'm like, I'll stop you right there. Don't ask the question. He's like, I'm like, no, don't ask it. And so he's like, and how are you today, Mom? Like he tries to like butter me up. And I'm like, yeah, just go ask Dad. Go ask him. I was just not there. And so he goes and he talks to my husband. And then all of a sudden I get a text from my husband on our family group text that says, reservation 7:15 Stone and Vine. Now, if you're neurotypical, you might have seen that and been like, cool, he handled it. No, this is not how I perceived it. I immediately got flustered and I'm like, my gosh, first of all, he did not ask me. He did not ask me if I wanted to go out to eat. Second of all, I failed here. He thinks this is my fault. He thought I put so much work on him by having our son go and ask him instead of me just making the decision. I felt it deep. I felt all the physical sensations first, and then my mind used my physical sensations to try to make sense of it. Now, the good part is I was like, okay, this is probably RSD. And I got off the couch, I was reading, and I just went into the bathroom and started getting ready for dinner. Within 10, 15 minutes, I was able to logically say to myself, he probably just made the decision because I didn't want to make the decision. And so he just took care of it and didn't even have to ask me. He's doing this for me. I said I didn't want to make it, and he took that at value and made it. And that calmed me down. So delay, know that RSD is a thing. Okay, let's talk demand avoidance now. Now, you usually see something, it's called pathological demand avoidance, or PDA, not public displays of affection, pathological demand avoidance. This appears a lot with individuals on the autism spectrum, but it can also appear in ADHD. This is the you can't tell me what to do. As soon as something becomes an expectation or a demand, immediate shutdown. And it could be very, very irritating, both to yourself and also it could be irritating when your kids do this as well, because demand avoidance becomes an issue and I laugh because even things you tell yourself to do, you can't do. It gets coded by your brain as a demand, and the automatic response is resistance, even if you logically want to do the thing. I mean, this happened a lot for me in working out. I want to get up and work out, but as soon as I tell myself, okay, you're getting up at 6 a.m. and working out, JoAnn, my brain's like, no, that won't happen today. And there's this pushback against it. This can also happen with a sticky note that says fold laundry written to you by you. And you're like, nope, not going to do that right now. Your brain treats it like an order from a boss you resent just because it is a demand. So I wanted to really make you aware of this. And one other way to look at demand avoidance is, first of all, nobody likes being told what to do. And so something I do in my coaching and what I do to myself in return is this thing called permissive language. Now, permissive gets a bad rap. You don't want to be a permissive parent. Permissive parents are like, you could go do whatever. It's okay, honey. Do whatever makes you happy. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about permissive language. And permissive language sounds something like, instead of fold laundry, it would be like, if you want to, possibly consider folding the laundry. You may possibly want to consider folding the laundry. Just putting all of those little modifiers in it can sometimes help a lot. Or if it's in your interest at that time, maybe consider folding the laundry. That's permissive language. I use this a lot with my kids as well. The dishwasher. I'm like, so, if you possibly, have the time either tonight or maybe right now, that dishwasher possibly wants to be unloaded. And I say this because my son knows it's an expectation to unload the dishwasher. What I'm doing with that permissive language is I'm just reminding him of that while avoiding making it a demand. So that's why it works. That's why it's not something he's like, oh yeah, I won't do. So that's a little tip there on the demand avoidance. The third thing, and this is the most interesting thing at all, it's the interest-based nervous system versus the importance-based nervous system. Now, this was coined by Dr. William Dodson's framework, and it's because ADHD brains are not driven by importance. I mean, you probably know that already. You probably know that because you're the one who has taxes to do, and you cannot find the motivation to do those taxes until right before the deadline. There's a reason for that. And I'm going to cue you in on why that is. But they're driven instead by interest and challenge and urgency and novelty. So it's not fold the laundry because it matters. It's fold the laundry because it's now a game and you're racing against the clock for a prize for yourself. That may be a way you could get yourself to do the things you hate to do because you've added this challenge. there's a framework that Dr. Dotson created for the core motivators of ADHD, and it's called the PINCH framework. It stands for passion. Passion is something that like, oh my gosh, you really want it to happen. Like passion's like why I do this podcast. I am passionate about helping moms not feel like they are failing. I want moms to feel confident and supported and seen. And that's mostly due to my own childhood and wanting the same for my mom. So that's passion. Interest is something that really engages you. So my interest is psychology. I like to know how people work. I like to know how to kind of like hack my brain to figure out how to get myself to do things that are easy. And I also like to know how to influence other people. So that's interest. The N is novelty, new, exciting things. It's the reason that you are able to buy a brand new planner and maybe plot the first week perfectly. But then the second week, you're like, nope, done with this. I'm not on it. But that's usually when people are like, I can't stay consistent. And friend, it is not because you can't stay consistent. It is because that task is not novel anymore. And there's ways around that. There's ways around that. The C is for competition. If you can put something in place that either has you compete against yourself or compete against the clock or compete against other people, your brain is like, bring it on. I'm down. So that helps. And then the last one is hurry. This is why you leave things until the last minute. It's not because you're lazy. It's because your brain needs that spike, that time constraint, that hurry to actually get on board and get engaged. It's why, like in college, I left my final paper for my English class until 2 a.m. I couldn't write that thing. I tried like starting 3 weeks ahead of time, nothing. Finally, 2 a.m, I banged it out in 3 hours. That is the ADHD brain at work. If you've ever had that kind of experience, that's what's going on. So once you understand these three things, the RSD, the demand avoidance, and the interest-based nervous system, that standard advice starts to make a lot more sense because it's not that just be consistent or just prioritize sleep is bad advice. It's that it's missing an on-ramp for a brain like yours. So let's build that on-ramp because I want to share with you some strategies that you could use right away that actually do work with you. You know what I just realized? I have trips on the calendar this summer and I have been completely ignoring the most important question. What am I actually going to wear on the plane? Because here's the thing. I want to look cute on the plane. I don't want to be in like mismatched sweats, but I also want to feel like I am wrapped in a cloud for 5 hours. I want to be comfortable. It feels impossible, right? That is where Quince comes in. And honestly, I keep coming back to them because they make it so easy. Quince has these beautiful everyday pieces like 100% European linen pants, dresses, and tops with styles starting at just $32. And everything is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands because they work directly with ethical factories and skip the middleman markup entirely. You're paying for quality, not a logo. I just ordered the Cloud Comfort wide leg pants for my trip, and I am genuinely so excited about these. They look really cute, and they are way, way less than similar pants I've seen elsewhere. Comfy and adorable. That is a win I did not even know I needed. Elevate your summer wardrobe. Go to quince.com/NGM for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/NGM for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/NGM.
Where is Daredevil?
I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated.
We're gonna take this city back.
Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Your brain. Okay, let's talk about how we can hack our brains to actually do stuff. And by hacking our own brains, we're showing our kids how to hack their own brains as well. We're teaching them how their brains work and how to motivate themselves. So the first strategy is timers and gamification. Do you remember how I said in the pinch framework that a few things need to happen? There's a competition element, there's that hurry element, and there's that novelty element. This is what timers and gamification does. This is something that I first taught to kids when I had my drama-free homework course going on. And it was to, if they're unmotivated to do a homework assignment, to get a timer right near them. It has to be something that they set themselves. It cannot be set by someone else. There cannot be any element of control, because remember that demand avoidance. If something's a demand, brain shuts down. So it has to be in their control. And to set on the timer, like a time that you think you can stay focused for. So like 5 minutes. Hit that 5 minutes and try to get as much done as possible. At the end of the 5 minutes, you get like a little reward. Maybe it's a little fruit snack. Maybe it's a little gummy bear. I really like using those as rewards. You can use this on yourself as well. So if you have a big goal, for instance, writing a book. For all of my books, I have used timers. My limit is 25 minutes. I set my timer for 25 minutes and I'm like, I don't know what to write, but all I have to do is write for 25 minutes and I'll see how many things I can get done, how many words I can write. And so I would write, and then at the end, I check the word count. And if I'm above the word count, I'm like, woohoo. And if I'm below the word count, well, guess what? That 25 minutes, I'm just planning to set it again and I try to beat my score. So that's a little gamification worked in there. See, if you have to fold the laundry, how many pieces of laundry can you get folded in 10 minutes? Like game on, right? So this timers and gamification really works. Now let's talk about rewards, because I am not for giving kids rewards. However, I don't think rewards are a bad thing. I think that kids should be put in control of their own rewards, as well as you. You are put in control of your own rewards. And because of that, there's some advice out there with motivating ADHD kids where you should have like a stocked toy box and a sticker chart, and they could work for a sticker, they could work for a toy. Two problems with that in your brain. First of all, yes, you're going to be super excited to keep that sticker chart up when you start it, but then that motivation is going to decline. Why is that? Because the novelty will decline. Same with your child. Other problem is in that reward box, for it to motivate your child, that needs to be like a stream of novelty. So it can't be the same type of prize. It has to be something different each time for them to stay motivated to do it. So if you've ever tried sticker charts or toy boxes and they haven't worked, that's the reason, because everything stops being novel. Now, you might be like, okay, what does work? When you have control over your rewards and it is something that is novel each time. Screen time works as a really great reward because yes, it is the same thing, the time involved, but there's something different on that screen each time. Starbucks, I like to use Starbucks for me as rewards. Like if I have to do housework, for instance, I'm like, yes, after this, I'm going to go get my iced grande caramel macchiato. And I'm going to be a very happy JoAnn after it. So being in control of your own rewards is key for this to work. And using those timers and that gamification, what can you put a timer on to get you to do the thing? Same goes with your kids. Maybe they are resistant for taking a shower. Have them figure out a timer time to put on the timer and a reward that they want. Maybe it's a little screen time. Maybe it's like reading in their room for 10 minutes. And then have them go for it. See what they can get done in that time. Another way that this is used in my house is my son uses it to unload the dishwasher. To make it novel, he puts music in his ear. So it's a different song playing each time he's unloading the dishwasher, but he's also trying to just beat the clock and figure out how fast he can do it. Okay, that's one strategy that you can leave with. Another strategy, incentivize everything. And I'm not talking about you incentivizing it for your kids. I am talking about these rewards that we kind of brought in and I talked about in the gamification section. But when you give yourself a reason for doing the most boring tasks, and remember, the ADHD brain doesn't care if they're important, cares if that pinch is available, if they're novel, if it's like you have to hurry up and do it, all of those things. If you have passion about it, if you have interest in it, and let's just face it, we don't have passion and interest in folding our laundry. We just don't. It doesn't work for us. So incentivize it. Use those rewards for yourself. Use like screen time for yourself. I mean, it's wonderful if you put a screen time timer on your own phone and be like, well, now I get my TikTok. It's a great way to incentivize. I want to hear from you on this one. Do you have a favorite make it a game trick? If you do, DM me at No Guilt Mom on Instagram because I want to share these tricks with everybody in our audience so we can all benefit from them. Third strategy, body doubling. Have you heard of this? This is a phenomenal way to get projects done because what it is it's working alongside another person in person or virtually where their presence keeps you anchored and focused. In the No Guilt Mom Inner Circle, we have 3 body doubling sessions a day, a morning one, a kind of like midday one, and an evening one that our members use. They log on to Zoom, they chat with each other at the beginning of the call, and then they get to work, like cameras off, audio off. Some leave their cameras on. At the end of 40 minutes, they come back on and say what they've accomplished. Now, this helps in terms of focus because you know somebody else is working alongside of you. It also kind of works in terms of competition because having to then report to your group what you got done, you are then making that competition against yourself very vocal and other people are able to see it. I used body doubling to write my 3rd book, The Best Mom is a Happy Mom. I used it right there in the inner circle. And that was the way I got a rough draft finished in a month using body doubling once a day. The technique works because you're not alone. Other people are in it with you. And you know somebody's going to like hear you say, I wasn't able to stay focused versus like, yeah, I got 1,500 words this session. Pat myself on the back right there. So much dopamine. It's wonderful. So body doubling also works for your kids. If they are having a hard time focusing, something that works for older kids, if they have a cell phone, have them FaceTime one of their friends and they could do homework on the phone together. You may just want to gently, using that permissive language that I talked about, suggest it because I'm sure you know how well it goes over where you say, hey, you should do this. That should is an automatic pushback, automatic when you have a neurodiverse brain because once you hear you should, it's not getting done ever. So this episode, I hope it brought you so much relief against the shame of having a non-neurotypical brain and also parenting your kids with a non-neurotypical brain because standard ADHD parenting advice assumes a neurotypical executor. And if that's not you, the gap isn't your fault. RSD, demand avoidance, interest-based nervous system explain why just be consistent. It doesn't work for your brain. Instead, using timers and gamification, incentivizing and body doubling work with your brain to get things done. And they work for your kid as well. So if you have been hearing all of this ADHD advice and feeling like a failure because you can't do the quote unquote easy adult parts, please hear this. You're not an exception to the advice. You're proof that this advice needs an upgrade. And now you've got one. And if you want to work on yourself and work on some of the things that I mentioned in this episode, like permissive language, have an outlet for that body doubling, and learn more about how your brain works and how to communicate with others and your kid, come on over and join the inner circle. I'm going to put a link right down there in the show notes. However, if you just want to go there, it's learn.noguiltmom.com/go. Join us there. It is only $19 for the first month. And we have a book club going on right now. If you like mysteries and thrillers, you're going to want to be in that book club. So if you're on Spotify and listening to this, can you hit that follow button possibly right now? Because it's the best way to make sure that you never miss an episode. And it also helps me reach more moms like you. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, if you could subscribe as well. Remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you, and I'll talk with you later.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.